is Chicago's very own WGN News.
So we're going to be appealing this scam. We're going to be appealing it on many different things. He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything.
Former president and now convicted felon Donald Trump lashing out at New York's justice system following a guilty verdict on all 34 counts of falsifying business records to hide hush money payments. As you heard, he took issue with the judge who presided over the case and is vowing to appeal. So join us now to talk about the case and Trump's appeal process is UIC law professor Stephen Schwinn. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor.
Thanks for having me, Micah.
First of all, he called this a scam. What would you say to that?
Well, Micah, I don't think it's a scam, and I don't think most commentators do think it's a scam. It's an unusual prosecution, but that's because we had a highly unusual fact situation that President Trump spearheaded. This is extraordinary, and so the prosecution is extraordinary, but it's not a scam.
Talk to us. His main thing today, he went rambling for 37 minutes or so today, or 45 minutes, and it was supposed to be a press conference. It ended up being just kind of a speech talking about it being a sham. It's about Biden, but he will appeal. He would have testified, but he didn't. But he will appeal. What does that process look like? We know July 11th he will be sentenced right before the RNC. But does the appeal come after that? Do they start the process now? What happens?
I guess so. They've already started to lay the groundwork for the appeal by making objections at trial. Based on those objections, then the Trump team will appeal, but they'll file their appeal after the sentencing on July 11th. So we'll see the sentencing on July 11th, and then I expect the Trump team to appeal pretty quickly after that.
So when he gets sentenced, and no one knows if Judge Meacham will do that, Marchant, I'm sorry, will do that, or whether he'll just have him, probation or whatever he'll do. But how does that affect the sentencing, if at all?
So Judge Marchant will have some options at sentencing. Each of the counts comes with a 4-year prison term maximum and $5,000 maximum. Now, most commentators think that prison time is pretty unlikely, and I agree with that assessment. I think that's pretty unlikely given what's gone on and given Trump's history. But Judge Marchant will still have some flexibility to impose probation or home confinement or financial penalties or community service or a range of other penalties that he could impose on July 11th.
How will this appeal, which we know he's going to do, affect his other 3 criminal cases right now?
Yeah, great question. The fact is it won't affect them at all. So I expect that he'll go ahead and appeal this case. But the other 3 criminal cases against him, 2 in federal court, 1 in state court in Georgia, those will proceed. Now, as we know, they've been going very slowly for a variety of different reasons, but nothing that happens in this case will necessarily affect those other cases.
Can I go back to the press conference today? He has a gag order against him right now, which will last until at least July 11th. How does what he was saying today affect that gag order?
Yeah, so the gag order actually is going to be lifted until his sentencing, and unless the prosecution goes back and does something to sort of reinstate the gag order, President Trump at this point is free to talk, irrespective of the gag order.
So we will know if, well, he's free to talk irrespective of the gag order, but we'll know if there's going to be any penalty against that at sentencing, right?
We will. And in my view, if I were advising former President Trump, I would tell him to maybe not attack the judge and the prosecutor and the jurors and the witnesses and the whole justice system. That won't bode well for him at sentencing at all.
All right. Professor Stephen Schwinn, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Micah.